From Carolla One Studios in Glendale, California, this is the Adam Carolla Show. Adam's guest today, the creator of Unsolved Mysteries, Terry Dunn Meurer. With Gina Grad on news, Paul Bryan on sound effects, and AJ Benza drops in. And now, celebrating the Ides of March by listening to Vehicle on repeat all day, Adam Carolla.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get it on. No choice but get it on. The mandate, you get it on. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks for telling a friend. We'd love that about you, right, Gina Grad?
That's right.
Handball, Brian. Oh, Brian's having some difficulties there.
Oh, he's on mute like a guest, like a first-time guest.
Yeah.
There he goes.
We'll get lit into the show.
All right. You got your drop?
That's right.
Women be shopping. Can't stop a woman from shopping.
No, that's not Dave Chappelle. That's Pete Holmes.
Come on. No way.
Yeah. All right. So I had this some clarity on a subject, as well as an interesting back and forth with Dr. Drew that I'll get into. You heard me say on this show a week ago or so, what's up with all the sign language people and their crazy hair?
Uh-huh.
And again, it's not that all sign language folks that are hanging out behind the mayor, the governor, the FEMA guy have crazy hair. It's just per capita. It seems like a crazier hair job than, I don't know, school teacher or pilot or something like that. And
you're talking, I think we're talking specifically about a lot of the dudes, right? Kind of the Dungeons and Dragons vibe.
Yeah, the chicks have pretty crazy hair too, but it's kind of hard to tell with women because sometimes they have crazier hair. But the guys have a pretty inconsistent, I should say, consistently crazy hair over other occupations. So, Max Pat, I was able to interview a woman who was hearing impaired or deaf. I don't know. They've changed it because I used to say deaf 20 years ago. Then I was corrected and told hearing impaired. And then I said, well, my grandfather's hearing impaired, but he's not deaf, you know?
Yeah, I thought deaf was okay.
It apparently is.
Oh, could we bleep that?
It is now.
Okay.
These things change. They don't make sense. And then they go back because it doesn't make sense. But when I used to do Loveline, if I said, are you deaf or is somebody deaf, they would go hearing impaired.
Yeah, hard of hearing.
As a place that, no, like hard of hearing. They like.
If you asked them they are deaf, there'd be a long silence.
Yeah, well, I was being corrected that deaf was sort of a pejorative, just like we change midget and dwarf and little person. You know, it's a Chicano, Latino, Latinx. You know what I mean? We just kind of keep moving along. Some take, some don't.
And to be fair, there is no hearing impaired comedy jam.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Thank you.
So, I was talking to a woman named Sarah Tubert and doing my motivational series that has nothing to do with podcasting. Young woman, quite an overachiever, maybe 26, had an incident with a doctor, young, left her deaf. Now she's the captain of the Deaf Olympics volleyball team, blah, blah, blah. Interesting, inspirational story. But I said to her a couple things. I said, what's up with the sign language people hair? And then I also said, with subcaptioning, now that you can just hit that on your TV set, you can have all the mayor and all the city officials or whenever they're making it. What do we need the signer for if, in fact, you can just read it? Wouldn't that just be more accurate? And she said, American Sign Language is a different language. American Sign is not just English translated straight ahead. It's some of that, but it's also its own language. So people,
like its own dialect.
Yeah, I guess. Or its own language.
Well, there is American Sign Language.
Yeah. There's American
that
Sign Language, and that's
talking about?
that's what that is,
Yeah.
right? So I was, because I was thinking about it, like, okay, why not just read what's on the screen? That's what the person's saying, and it then turns into kind of a cultural thing, which is some people grow up with American Sign Language, and they want to read American Sign Language, not the verbatim translation in English. I didn't say it to her, but hey, screw you people. Let's save some money here. It'd be a weird thing for a politician to die, weird hill for a politician to die on, which is I'm going to save $180 and we're not going to have
go that
this.
way. I'd advise against it.
But then when I was done with that conversation, I said, what's with the crazy hair with the signers? Why do they have crazy hair? And she said, well, there are rules for the sign language people, such as, no paisley vests. You got to wear like a black turtleneck sweater. You can't really express yourself through colorful floral scarves or pirate shirts with pop collars and
Might let her interfere with the fingers.
and a red vest. Yeah, you got to wear something muted, and you got to wear something that's kind of blank slatey so that we can see your hands just right. And probably not, and I haven't seen it. Yeah, you don't see a lot of jewelry, braces, class rings. Never seen a Super Bowl ring or a World Series ring. One of those people ought to hook up with Tom Brady and just put a ring on every finger.
Clinks
They go
everywhere.
flying everywhere.
But so she said these people they want to express themselves sort of visually. That's why they got into it. But they're forced to dress down all the time. So the hair becomes the way they can kind of express themselves. And there's no rules about the hair. Although I would argue the hair is as distracting as the paisley vest would be, maybe more so. But either way, it's not physically getting in the way of the hands. And then I talked to, and for some reason I talked to, we're looking at a guy with a weird.
Dressed monochromally.
Yeah, we got
Yes.
some Kenny Powers hair going on.
Yes. I mean, it's a lot of crazy hair. So then I said, I explained to Drew. I somehow got on the phone with Drew an hour later, and he said, what's with the American Sign Language? I didn't bring it up. Why not just read the transcript that's on the bottom, the closed captioning? What's wrong with that? And then I said, well, it's their own language, and that's the answer to that question. Then he said, they don't know how to read? And I said, nah, I'm sure they know how to read. And he said, well, if they know how to read, I mean, deaf people, I bet per capita are better readers than the average person with hearing. Then why not read? I said, look, Drew, I'm with you. I agree with you in spirit, but this is the answer to the question. It's American Sign. It is its own thing. He wasn't overly satisfied with that answer. But that was the answer I gave him. And then I said, think about the crazy hair, Drew. What do you think? You think what's the dynamic behind the crazy hair? And then I launched into my theory about wanting to express yourself when you can't express yourself through your clothing with your hair. He bought halfway into that, but then he decided these people were narcissists. I don't know where he got all his vitriol. I don't know where he got his vitriol toward these people. But then he said, what about conductors? He said, some of the craziest hair you'll ever see is a conductor of symphonic conductors. And I said, you are right, Drew. Traditionally, those guys, I don't know enough of the names, but some of the bigger name conductors.
Gustavo Dudamel.
There you go. Some of these guys.
He's from the LA Philharmonic.
Historically, some of the greatest conductors had the craziest hair, and it was always flying around as they were doing it.
A lot of crossover with the ASL, a lot of body motion, gesticulating, and the hair.
He said, these are people that want to be looked at. And I said, it's true, I guess, if you're a conductor and
or say it's their job. It's crucial to their job.
That's their job, but that would explain the crossover of crazy hair because like I said, construction workers and school bus drivers, they don't really want to be looked at. you know? So there's no through line with, hey, look at me and look at my crazy hair. Our internet went down, so I told Chris to find some crazy hair, but we had some conductors, but the internet went down, so he's still dutifully looking away for those. But started to put together this construct. Drew, we only spoke about it for an hour and 20 minutes, so it's not like we dedicated the entire
brief chat
day to it. And I think sometimes people think, like, what are you talking to Drew about? This conductor's crazy hair. Because we're both trying to cobble together some theory, and there seems to be a trend. Oh, we're looking at Gustaf's. Yeah,
that's Dudamel. Yeah,
yeah, he's got crazy hair, but historically, there's been a lot of crazy hair and a lot of
Amadeus Mozart.
A lot of movement in the hair as well. So I feel like they're kind of from the same family in that they move their hands a lot, and their hair is actually moving as their hands are moving. Now we're seeing a lot of crazy hair. Yes.
Especially with conductors, because they do have a flair for the dramatic, and, whipping your hair around and whipping your wand around, your conductor's wand. I think that's part of the drama, right?
Yes. Yes. All right. So that's theory number one.
How many more?
Well, theory number two is interesting.
It's serious, Gina. It'll be going for a few weeks.
It was just number one.
This I came up with on my own, but I'm still curious about it. And Brian's got some Oscar thoughts because they just announced those. And then we've got some Grammy discussion to get to as well. Here's another theory. Has nothing to do with hair and hair movement, but I'm curious, and you guys tell me. They say, like, when people are drunk, for the most part, it's a lot of what's in them that's kind of coming out already.
Angina veritas.
And
truth serum.
Yes, a kind of a truth serum. Yes, thank you. And I generally agree.
There's two ways of saying that.
Yes. I generally agree with that theory.
American Sign Language, Ryan.
That's right. It's our own language.
I think that there are people that get drunk and blackout drunk and they do crazy things and stuff like that. But I'm talking about the person that gets buzzed at the Christmas party and kind of tells you what they really think of you.
Right.
That's what they really think of you. They just now have the courage to do it. But I think I came up with a better indicator of what lurks just beneath the surface on people's minds, like who they really are. And the problem with booze is you're intoxicated, you're inebriated. There's some chemical things that are going on with you that don't fully do a one-to-one correlation between this is who I am really because I'm drunk. But you guys tell me what you think about this. I think a better indicator of kind of what lurks beneath the surface is when you're asleep. Now.
Okay.
We all know, like, I will give you, for instance, my son, Sonny, when he's asleep, is the easiest person. I'll go in his room, he'll be asleep, and I'll wake him up, and he'll go, oh, what time is it? And I'll go, it's time to get up. And I'll go, oh, he'll go like, oh, sorry. And he'll get up. If I do that, my daughter, she'll start yelling at you, you know. And
there was the same thing with me and my brother, which was the story was always like if you fell asleep on the couch or whatever, I was always easy to wake up and just go, you'll walk right to bed, whatever. And my brother, we have him on home video, like waking up from being asleep, and he goes like, said something like, I hate you. He's asleep, you know what I mean? And it's just that's who he was.
Overreaction.
Well, maybe there's a little more of that in him, is what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying. I'm agreeing with you.
Right, and we all know those. There's like you wake someone up in the morning and you go, you want some coffee? And some people will go, oh, no thanks. Or the sleep. Now, some people will get angry. Like, I'm sleeping, like there are people that when you wake them up or the middle of the night or whatever, you got to get up, you got to do something. For whatever reason, little anger comes out of them.
I remember what it was now. My brother said, I'm going to smack you. My mom.
Jesus.
He was like 7.
I would argue that that's a better indicator of what's lurking beneath the surface, because that is not them drunk and passed out. That's just they're not in a state where they really know what they're saying. And if you really think about it, when you wake someone up, you're just sort of waking up what's inside of them. So if they're super shitty, that's a person that probably is walking. Once that person gets the coffee and is walking around, that's just beneath the surface as well. Probably easier to get to. Probably easier to get to with Natalia than it would be for Sonny, and probably easier to get to with Brian's brother versus Brian.
Right.
If everyone's fully awake and you step on their foot, or, you tell them something they don't want to hear, or whatever, I think a pure indicator. And some people, we've slept with those people, we've had roommates this way, they get super aggravated. Like if you have to, we've all had that roommate where you have to go into the room early because you know that move. Remember that move where you were catching an early flight, or you had to get up early and go to work, and you had that roommate, and at some point at 5:45, you went in their car was blocking your car in the driveway or something.
God.
And you went into the room and you just went, hey man, where are your keys? And went, what do you want? What's going on? Those people, I would argue that the chill person, the person that woke up and went, oh, sorry, the keys are on the counter. That person's probably a little easier during the course of the waking day.
I've never told this story before, but back in the radio days, when I was living in Christie's apartment. This would have been 2007, 8, or something like that. I made the mistake of calling one of the members of this show. I'm not gonna say who it is, but it rhymes with Mike Dawson. And I called him at about 8:30, something like that, because I had to ask a question about the next day about a guest or a bit or something. And Dawson was clearly asleep because he answered hello. And I'm like, oh hey man, it's me. It's Brian. He's like, what time is it? I'm like, down, it's 8:30. He's like, dude, if I can't go back to sleep, I'm going to kill you. I'm like, all right, man, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Sounds about right.
Dawson, do you remember that?
No, but
he was
it checks out.
It checks out. Right. And I guess here's another kind of indicator. When somebody wakes me up, my first thought is, what did I do wrong? I shouldn't have fell asleep, or where did I leave my car? Where's my keys? Some people have a sense of sorry, what'd I do? Did I leave something on? Yeah. My bad. Some people wake up with my bad, and some people wake up with fuck you. That's an interesting way to divide. You could probably divide the world in half of I've awoken. They don't really think what time it is or where we are or where I am. There's just the up yours people, and there's the what I do wrong. Why are you waking me up? I must have screwed up somehow or let you down or did whatever. Interesting way to divide the nation. So do not look at people when they're drunk, although that's helpful. Wake them up in the middle of the night and tell them something stupid and see what really get a pure valuation of it. All right, let's see. So our internet is still a little screwed up, right, Max? Has our internet just been screwed up a lot over the last week?
It's doing something extra wonky today. That there's a. Oh wait, I don't know if Brian and Gina can still hear us, but
we're here.
Weirdly, they're still
What's
on, but
happening?
everybody else on the staff got disconnected. And we can't search for anything right now. So really the only connection is you, Brian, and Gina. So we're just leaving it at that. And as long as it works, then I'm fine.
Well,
and what's happening on your end is it speeds up a little, slows down, speeds up, slows down. So we just need to catch up to you.
Well, the good news is I searched for the truth before I came in here today. Came up with some very powerful analysis on sign language and sleeping.
Yeah.
All right. So we have Brian has some thoughts on the Oscars because the Oscars were announced early this morning. And as I say every year, it's why do I have to do it at 6:15? And everyone goes, East Coast, East Coast, East Coast. Oh, give it to them at noon. But we have some of that. And finally, I think theaters are going to open to 25% capacity.
Supposedly today.
So that'll be nice.
In LA.
Although I'm not sure what's in theaters right now, but somebody must be thinking about this stuff.
Well, and specifically, what's in theaters that you can't stream?
Well, yeah, I went on the Century City, the big one.
All right, hold on. Now,
movie.
wait, you guys are breaking up now. Brian's breaking up. So we'll see. Now it came back. Want to try it again, Brian?
Check.
Try it again.
I went onto the AMC website for the first time in a year, literally a year, and they have a full roster of movies starting tomorrow. I mean, all the big Raya and The Last Dragon and, whatever else is, in theaters.
Where's Fast and Furious?
Are they movies?
Yeah, sorry.
Not there yet.
Are they movies that you can't get anywhere else? Because I'm in full influx of SAG screeners, and this is the first year that it's just all waste. It's all stuff I've already seen on Netflix.
I think it is all movies that I'd either seen or was not interested in. So, yeah, a lot of them you could have already seen on your own, which is going to be an issue theaters have to deal with.
So what did the Oscars, what did you glean from that?
Here's what we got. So the Oscars are Oscar nominations announced today. Oscars are Sunday, April 25th on ABC. So you got a good month and a half to knock out some movies if you want to. Mank led the way with 10 nominations, the most of any movie. 6 other movies tied with 6 nominations: The Father, Sound of Metal, Trial of the Chicago 7, Nomadland, Judas and the Black Messiah, and Minari. All had 6 nominations each. The good news is that the vast majority of these films can be streamed or rented right now, and supposedly The Father is coming to VOD later this month, if you want to knock that one out. 70 women received a total of 76 nominations, according to the Academy, a record for any given year. 2 women nominated for Best Director for the first time ever in the same year. And according to Rotten Tomatoes, we have our first Muslim Best Actor nomination, our first Asian American Best Actor nomination, and the first Korean acting nominee in any category. So that's a bunch of firsts. Okay, so surprises. Trial of the Chicago 7 with 6 nominations. That is a TV movie at best. I don't know if anyone saw it. Jane, did you see it?
Yeah, it's a courtroom drama.
It's a procedural, and it's not remarkable in any way.
It's fine.
I saw it 5-6 months ago. I barely remember anything about it. It's nominated for Best Cinematography. That 85% of it takes place in a courtroom.
So is that the woke? Is that part of that the new woke world?
Well, it's Abby Hoffman. It's Sacha Baron Cohen as Abby Hoffman. It's about it's about
It's the 1968, Chicago 7, Democratic, but
historical.
If I may, I think it's much more indicative of honestly a really weak year for movies and less about the wokeness. It's a very mediocre movie.
But with 6 nominations and such a provocative, timely sort of woke subject matter in a mediocre movie, why doesn't the woke factor in?
It's not that timely. It's a true story about 1968.
Well, I don't mean time. I mean of the zeitgeist, the time that we're in now. I don't mean contemporary. I just mean we. This is a good theme, a good woke theme, right?
There's racial overtones for sure. I mean, Brian, remember when they bust up the group of black kids and what they do to them, and that's
true. But if that was the case, Adam, Judas and the Black Messiah, which is a much better movie, would have gotten a lot more nominations. I think it's indicative of the Chicago 7 having it has pedigree. It has like big stars. It has Sacha Baron Cohen and et cetera, et cetera. It's Frank Langella as the judge. Aaron Sorkin, I think he wrote and directed it. He certainly wrote it.
The Danish Girl.
Got a pedigree, and it's like in a year where there's not a lot of great movies, frankly, that this one just happened to be good enough in some people's mind to get nominations for certain things.
It's not judgeable, but if it's and it's got 6 nominations and it's such a perfect subject matter for where we are right now, I just feel like I don't know. What if it was about NASCAR?
Right.
I mean, would it get as much of what we're talking about? I don't know if we can.
No, it's a safer subject to sort of rally around, I suppose.
Well, don't you? But you do understand there is a woke kind of zeitgeist that's going on, and I think the theme helps with that. I mean, maybe it would have got 4 nominations minus the woke part. It's not a night and day. It's a kind of percentage thing. I think the themes help now more so than ever. So maybe there's some wokeism in the 6 nominations, maybe not in 3 of them. All right. Well, what was the first one with 10 nominations?
That was Mank, the story, David Fincher's movie about the making of Citizen Kane. Yeah, basically about Herman Mankiewicz, the writing / making of Citizen Kane.
Is that good?
It's good, but again, it's a weak year for movies. That this one got 10 nominations. It's everything that usually Hollywood loves about Oscar movies. It's old. It's in black and white. It's a steam director. It's about old Hollywood. It's got all those things going for it. Like when you talk about themes, this isn't woke, but it's got all Oscar themes. You know what I mean? It's about old people making old movies, which Hollywood loves.
All right.
It's okay. It'll probably win Best Cinematography over the Chicago 7. Speaking of woke, for everyone who thinks the Oscars are too woke, Glenn Close got nominated for Best Supporting Actress for a Hillbilly Elegy. So there you go. There's a bone for the anti-woke crowd. Another round got nominated for Best Director, but not Best Picture, which is unusual, certainly pretty rare. There's a movie called The Mole Agent that I saw that got nominated for Best Documentary. It's about it's a mole agent. It's about an old dude who gets hired in, I think it's Peru. It's the South American country, and he gets put inside of a old person's home to see if there's any abuse going on. I'm not sure that it's even a documentary. Like, a lot of it felt staged, and I'm really shocked that it got nominated for Best Documentary, but here we are. Really nice surprise. Okay, the Minari got 6 nominations. Really good movie. The Best Supporting Actress for Yoon Yoo Jung, I think is how you pronounce it. First Korean actor ever nominated for an Oscar. She plays the grandma. She was fantastic. She was the best part of the movie. She might win Best Supporting Actress. It's a bit of a shaky category this year. The Borat Supporting Actress, she was like 14 or whatever she is. She got nominated. She was very good. Sound of Metal got nominated for 6 Oscars.
What's that about?
I love that movie. I saw it 3 months ago, and I was like, oh, good little movie. Too bad it won't get any Oscar love. And here it is up for Best Picture. It's about this dude, Riz Ahmed, nominated for Best Actor. He's a drummer in like a thrash metal forgive me, music nerds, I don't know exactly what kind of metal it is, but he's a drummer in a metal band, and he starts to lose his hearing, like pretty dramatically, pretty fast. And he has to learn ASL. He goes into assisted living home. Like it's pretty dramatic. It's a solid movie.
Drew hated it.
He did?
Because of the subject matter.
Come on, Brian, that's a joke.
Oh, you son of a... I'm so wrapped up in the movies. I know. I'm too wrapped up in the fucking movies. My Octopus Teacher got nominated for Best Documentary.
Oh,
really
can the
good.
Octopus please win?
Really good documentary. I was so glad to see that.
Great.
I hope it was the one that picked the Super Bowl winners.
Not Paul the Octopus. He died.
I'm out.
That's a solid doc. It's streaming on Netflix. The White Tiger got nominated for Best Screenplay. That's another little movie, kind of a Slumdog Millionaire type of movie, but it's very good, and I'm glad it snuck in with an Oscar. And I hate snub. I got snubbed. Oh, snubs. Snub is the fucking worst. But the one that's getting talked about the most is Da Five Bloods. Didn't get. I don't think they got one nomination.
Spike Lee.
Well, yeah, but he directed it, but I think got nominated for Best Score or something. I don't know if you guys saw it or not. It's a good movie, slightly above average. Really interesting subject, really interesting characters, but some very questionable directorial decisions that really take you out of the story a lot, like 12 or 13 times. So, in my opinion, not much of a snub.
Not a snub. So
No.
give us, before we got to jump here, give us a couple recommendations.
I really liked the Sound of Metal. Where can that be streamed, Chris? Do you have it there in front of you? I know Gary did the legwork and found everything for us.
Just Google this shit because our internet's screwed up.
Okay.
All right, so look, and one
Sound
more.
of Metal is good. My Octopus Teacher is a good documentary. The White Tiger is a good little movie that's up for best screenplay. I like that one as well. The good news is all of these can be streamed and or rented, except for The Father, which supposedly is coming to VOD at the end of the month. So if you want to watch any of these movies, they're accessible.
Quick question: Nomadland, yes or no? Okay, that's all I needed to hear. That's all I needed.
It's a good movie. It's just, in this year of Oscars, like, all right.
Okay.
Sound of Metal's on Amazon Prime.
Nomadland is good, but it's slow, it's quiet, and there's no plot. It's just following this woman around. And
Right.
that said, it's still good, but temper your expectations.
Okay.
I am I'm waiting for Top Gun and Fast and Furious.
Amen.
All right, let me hit Simply Safe. That's right, Simply Safe. If you have 30 minutes, well, then you can set up your Simply Safe system, and you never have to worry about home break-ins ever again. That's it's quick to set up. It's a security system by Simply Safe. 2 eyes in there. Easy, so easy. You can do it. You can just do it at home. Do it when you're watching, binging some Netflix or watching one of Brian's many recommendations. We've used Simply Safe here for a long time. And the good news is when you move, you just peel it off and you take it with you to your new abode. Just go to simplysafe.com/Adam. Choose the exact sensors you need. Get help from one of their experts. And the box will get to your house in about a week. And then once it gets to your house, peel and stick. Set it up and running in well under an hour. Batteries last up to 10 years. Go to simplysafe.com/Adam. Do it today. Customize your system and get a free security camera. That's simplysafe.com/Adam. Get that free security camera. Terry Dunn Meurer, I hope I'm saying Meurer correctly, is one of the creators of Unsolved Mysteries, and we'll talk to Terry right after this. Well, Terry Dunn Meurer is with us, has a podcast, Unsolved Mysteries, available now on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Executive producer and co-creator of Unsolved Mysteries as well. Is Unsolved Mysteries available on Netflix? Do I have that right, Terry?
That's right.
The goddamn internet. What, I don't want to be one of those guys I'm not one of those guys who goes, well, it's a 5-hour flight from LA to New York. People used to die making that trek 100 years ago. I got no problems with that. And I kind of feel the same about the internet, except for our internet is more fucked up than anyone else's internet. That's my problem. I don't mind the part where the internet is some new technology and it has its good days and it has its bad days. I mind the fact that our internet in the middle, we're not in Montana coming from, we're not in a fucking ice fisherman's shack in Montana. We're just in the middle of Los Angeles. Why it's so inconsistent and shitty, I'll never know. But there is no motivation to ever fix it because, as I always say, no competition.
Disney's down the street. Do you think their internet goes out? I don't think so.
So
and there is no competition. Maybe they have. I bet they probably have their own built-in Elon Musk type Wi-Fi.
I guess, because ours is just so fucking wanky all the time. And but again, the ultimate, can't argue with it. Have no idea how it fucking works. Not sure. It rained over here. Maybe, maybe the rain has affected it.
Yeah.
But I have other subjects to get into while we attempt to get our internet going. And AJ Benza will join us as well a little bit later. I was talking to Mark Garagos about the George Floyd case, and we were getting into some of the nuts and bolts of that and jury selection and that kind of stuff. And I can give you a few of those thoughts. My first thought is just a broad overall thought, which is as I was looking at the pictures, especially when they do the side-by-side, when they go George Floyd and they show a picture of George Floyd and Derek Chauvin, the officer with the knee on the neck, when you just see those two human beings next to each other, it is like someone went to central casting and got a black man, and someone went to central casting and got a white man, which people may think I'm insane, but it definitely ratchets it up. I mean, it's if you guys just go Google a shot of both those individuals, it just looks like a guy who came from an Aryan cult to the blackest man from the inner city. It literally, they both look like they represent each culture. They look like a spokesperson for each culture. So that's not going to help things when the shit goes down. Terry, Ball, Brian, Gina, you back?
We're right here.
Check.
All right, so I had to filibuster there for a second. Terry, so Unsolved Mysteries started in 1987?
That's correct.
And what was, and it was originally going to be called Missing, Have You Seen This Person? Like it was a way to track these criminals down, correct?
We actually did 3 specials for NBC called Missing, Have You Seen This Person? And those specials found some missing children and missing adults. And that's what sparked kind of the broader approach, which was, maybe we can use television to solve mysteries beyond just the missing persons cases. And so we created what we called kind of a wheel of mysteries, every kind of mystery we could possibly think of. So that would be missing persons and murders and unexplained deaths and UFOs, ghosts, creatures, anything, treasure, where's the treasure kind of stories, science and medical mysteries. So we just broadened out as wide as we could with mysteries. And I think that's one of the things our audience has always really liked, is that it's not just one type of case or one type of mystery. We think of ourselves as a mystery show, not a true crime show. That's how we distinguish ourselves. So yeah, we started as broad as we could, and just there's so many mysteries out there that need to be solved. And even to this day, we still get hundreds of story submissions to our website from people who want, law enforcement as well, but from individuals who want us to profile their stories.
You must get, I always talk about this, but with the advent of the Ring doorbell and video surveillance on every corner, there must be a lot more to go off of than there was in the mid-'80s when you started out.
That's true. We have cell phones now. So law enforcement can ping cell phones if somebody's missing. There's a podcast we're going to be recording next week about a woman, and she was using her phone all day long. They could track everywhere she was, and then they had surveillance footage in the locations where she was, security footage. And she stopped using her phone. She was in a parking garage, and she just vanished from this apartment building parking garage. So how does that happen? And her phone was never used again. So they know that's the last place she used her phone. So yeah, there's so much more technology now that allows law enforcement to investigate, in different ways, but there's still so many cases out there. And DNA, back when we started Unsolved Mysteries, DNA wasn't even a thing. And now so many cases get solved because of DNA. So a lot of technology has really come along to help law enforcement, but there's still these cases that are baffling.
Was the original host Robert Stack or Cliff Stack? Was it one of the Stack?
Robert Stack. From the Untouchables, and he was in Airplane. And
talk about the decision to hire him, because a bit of a unusual hire, I would imagine. Was it risky at the time to get pushback?
The first host we had was Raymond Burr, and he did the first episode, and then Carl Malden did 2 episodes. And then we found Robert Stack, and he carried on from there and just became iconic. He just has that great voice and a great look, very credible, I think, presence, and just that kind of creepy voice that people still comment about Bob Stack and his voice and the trench coat. And we put him in fog, and we just made it as creepy as we could and mysterious as we could.
If you or anyone has any information.
Exactly.
I still remember. I watched it like every week.
Perhaps you can help solve a mystery.
That's right.
Yeah.
Raymond Burr famously was Ironside.
He was.
In the beginning of Ironside, they showed how he got in a wheelchair. Like somebody shot him in the ass and he went down. And then next thing you know, he was a detective in a wheelchair or lawyer? I cannot remember.
He was. Oh, I think he was a detective. And then, Perry Mason fame. He comes from Perry Mason.
Oh, that's where he was a lawyer. Right. And then he became a thing. And then
I think then he became a detective in Ironsides because he had a sidekick too who helped him with his investigations. But I think he's most known for Perry Mason.
What story over the years or stories have stood out to you, have stayed with you, or made the biggest impact? They don't have to be the most horrific. But, I did Loveline for 10 years, and people will go, what's the craziest story? And I don't know. It's not always the most bizarre sexual. It's just this kind of story that I remember. So do you have a few of those?
Yeah, and they're not necessarily the crime stories. The stories that I find the most mysterious. And so there's the most heinous crimes. There's the creepy stories. There's the heartwarming stories. We've done every range of emotion, but I think the most mysterious stories to me are the reincarnation stories that we did about people who have been reincarnated and who have had information about people's lives that they could not possibly have, because this was before the internet, so they couldn't do any research and try and find any details about these cases. So those cases are fascinating. We even turned one of those cases into a TV movie that we did a number of years ago, a reincarnation case. And then I think the most gratifying case, the solves. We've solved over 260 cases, so that's always wonderful when a solve happens. And the cases that I think are the most gratifying are when somebody's been wrongly convicted. We did cases about people who might have been wrongly convicted. Were they, weren't they? And we didn't solve those cases necessarily, but we shined a light on those cases so that the prosecutors took another look.
Wouldn't have been solved without you.
Right. There were 7 of those cases. So 7 people are now living their lives on the outside that maybe never would have. There was a woman who was accused of poisoning her child, and she was convicted of life in prison. And we did that case, and she was let go. So those cases, all the solved cases, are always heartwarming. There's so many. We've done over 1,300 unsolved mystery stories in over the years.
It's interesting you say, you wouldn't focus yourself as a true crime genre because there's so many mysteries to solve. But, as somebody who really listens to a lot of true crime podcasts, I hope that they, sort of understand the history of what they're doing, and they owe you a lot. I mean, in terms, when you said we've helped solve 200 cases, a lot of these podcasts have too, but and that's wonderful. But for you to have sort of been the genesis of this, who would have known that was even possible unless we saw it on Unsolved Mysteries?
I think that's really true. When we first started Unsolved Mysteries back in the day, we were wondering is the audience going to listen in 1 hour episode for unsolved stories that don't have any endings? Are they going to stick with us? And we didn't know. But then when we started solving the cases, then I think a lot of the audience, they're kind of what we call water cooler cases. Because they are unsolved, there's a lot of chit chat that people do about them, trying to solve them themselves. And then when some of the cases did get solved, I think the audience really tuned back in to see, I wonder if that case from 2 weeks ago got solved. So, and we continue to update the old episodes that are still streaming on Amazon Prime and a number of other places. We go back in every year, and because it's not necessarily a case that we solved, but there's new information in a case. Right. So we keep the cases updated.
Let's have a reincarnation discussion. I don't have really strong feelings about it one way or the other. I kind of file it under astrology, and I'm an atheist, and many other stuff that I just not really down with, but I don't make I'm not going to fight somebody on it. I kind of feel the same way about ghosts.
Weird line in the sand to draw.
Well, I just mean my feeling with ghosts, UFOs, reincarnation, acts of God and things like that, you should be, pardon the pun, sort of agnostic about it. You shouldn't go, that absolutely 100% doesn't exist, and I know it, because how would you know? And maybe you shouldn't go, it's 100% it does exist, because how would you know? But you should be open to it. So, but I'm interested in the reincarnation case that stood out for you. And it's not something we really discuss anymore. It used to be a big topic. We don't really get into that anymore.
Well, there's one crime case of this woman who was murdered in her apartment. Her apartment was caught on fire. This person put a mattress on top of her, set the mattress on fire after she was murdered. They had no idea who killed this woman. And a coworker, wasn't even a close friend of hers, but she was a nurse, and a coworker at her hospital started going into these trances and channeling, whatever word you want to use, this woman who had been murdered. And she was very, very specific about the details. She said Alan Showery did it. She named the killer, and she said he stole her jewelry and gave it to his girlfriend, and the girlfriend has the jewelry. And sure enough, they go and they find the jewelry that Alan had given to his girlfriend, and that was her jewelry. So I don't know how you explain that, but to me, there is something at play there. Call it channeling, call it psychic, call it something. But it's not even that she came through to somebody who was very close to her. That's not a case of reincarnation. Maybe that's more just a spiritual channeling case. There is a reincarnation case that we did about a woman who lived in England, and she was having dreams about this family from a previous life. And this family, in her memory, lived in Ireland, and she had 6 children, and the woman had died in childbirth suddenly, and her children had been scattered to the wind. Well, it turns out that this hadn't happened so long ago that these children would still be alive. So she went to Ireland, and she went to the jetty where she used to say goodbye to her oldest son. His name was Sonny. And she remembered little details about Sonny. He would always rub the edges of his coat, as kind of a nervous tick or a nervous habit. And she found, one thing led to another, and she found Sonny, who was still alive. He was very old, but he was still alive, and the rest of the siblings, and pulled the ones that were still alive together. So she did this. You think of reincarnation as, I'm going to come back as, Cleopatra or something, but that wasn't the case. And here she could actually reunite her children, and her children it was mind-boggling,
so the
a little
children,
bit head-spinning.
The children believed it. The children understood what was happening.
They didn't understand. They didn't know how to label it. Like you're saying, is this reincarnation,
right,
or how did she know all this information? But she had such specific details.
But they
couldn't refute it. But they didn't know how to explain it.
But they did feel close to this stranger because she symbolized in some ways their mother.
Right. And she knew the story about their family. That there's no way that they lived in different countries. There's no way she could have known those details about this family. And she was very, very specific. So that's that. I don't know. How do you explain that?
The real hero in this story is the person who agreed to look after her 11 cats when she made the pilgrimage over. This is not a married woman, because the husband be like, "Where are you going?" "I'm going to Ireland."
No, she was married. Yeah,
what?
I think she had kids of her own. Yeah.
She packed her bags.
Yeah. Just said, I got to go do this, because the dreams were so haunting. She was so troubled by these dreams. She just had to figure it out.
I always tend to believe, yes, you're right. When someone does the reincarnation thing and then they go, "I was a Nubian princess," and all that kind of stuff, I tend not to believe it. But when it's a more pedestrian, specific, but pedestrian, like that tends to make me believe it. I would always, when we used to do Loveline, sorry for the old references, but when someone would say, "I had sex with my best friend's mom," and you'd go, "What happened?" "I went to their house and my friend wasn't home and she just came out of the bedroom," and I'd go, "What was she wearing?" If it was a negligee and stiletto heels, I always went liar. If they said flip-flops and a Jack Lambert jersey from the Steelers, I'd go, "Really? You had sex with your best friend's mom?" Because it was kind of the weird, boring, specific detail. Like you're talking about the hands on the coat, rubbing it in a certain way, or she wasn't anything special. She didn't come back as Cleopatra, the Queen of Sheba. Interesting.
Well,
mundane specificity.
Yeah.
Specificity. Yeah.
Well,
specificity.
it's
I'm open to it all. I'm open to it all. I like you say, I just think you need to stay open to it. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing if I wasn't open to those kinds of things. I think. I don't know. I just who's to say? That's my
No,
feeling.
I agree. I think people should be open to it without taking a hard stance on either side, like knowing it exists or knowing it doesn't exist. Just go case by case. And then also, we haven't really studied the human brain sufficiently to know all that goes on, sort of that we're unaware of or beyond the tactile, tangible world, So I'm fine with it and kind of like it. So how many years did the show run for?
We did 6 specials before they ordered it to a full weekly series, and then we did 11 seasons. And then we also did some what we called refresher stories after that, some additional stories. We kind of put them into the old story. So, so we produced about 22 episodes per season. So 1,300 stories and about 100 stories a season.
Yeah, I remember. It's so funny. I don't know. We're spread out way too thin now with viewing. I mean, Brian was just talking about Oscar-nominated films, and I don't think the three of us had seen. We didn't agree on 2 of them, or there wasn't 2 that we'd all seen.
Right.
Back then, there was just appointment viewing, and you would watch, and it's kind of interesting that the kids or young people, they're not going to have those references or reference points anymore. That scene from a movie that everyone saw, so everyone knows the reference. That TV show that everyone saw, that theme song that everyone remembers.
Between, for sure.
Right.
Yeah, no,
right.
True.
Yeah. I kind of.
No, I know. Unsolved Mysteries, the theme song is very recognizable. But what the goal of the series has always been to solve these cases, and so when we were on broadcast TV, the face of the wanted criminal goes by, and if you miss it, that's it. You don't get to stream it again or to rewind and go back. And so it's great that that can happen now. I feel like more cases can get solved because people can really study that photograph or of the missing person or the wanted fugitive, or go back and look at a clue or something. So this series has always been very interactive, in that we want the audience to submit tips to we have a website, unsolved.com, and you can go there and look at more information about the cases. So we've tried to give more to the audience now with as time goes on, rather than just airing 1 hour a week and that's all you get. And
that's perfect timing, because we've talked on the show before about this is the age of the internet sleuth. This is the age of people solving cases and desperately wanting to be a part of that and are pretty good at it. So thank God you're bringing it back, because people are interested.
Yeah. With the more, they just are hungry for more details, and that's why we have the website too, where people can, after they listen to the podcast, they can go and they can see the photos of the people, see photos related to the case, or get more information, or reach out with questions or send in tips. It's great.
There is, I think there is going to be a syndrome that many psychiatrists and psychologists are going to have to deal with at some point, which is the young children of the housewife who's obsessed with solving murders on the internet. Like, I hardly saw my mom. She was always
doing forensic examinations in her bedroom.
She was dusting for prints, swabbing for DNA on the internet. Just
looking through court records.
I had to make my own dinner.
Re-examining autopsies.
Yeah, they're sort of latchkey kids, but the mom's actually in the apartment. Right. She's just knee deep in one of these things. And we were talking about it, I think, last week, that I think women are going to be the new solver of these crimes, because they seem to care more, or it piques their interest, or there's something in the feminine DNA that is just attracted to this versus Australian rules football, or something like that.
For example.
For example. And maybe it is the nurturing thing. Like this was somebody's daughter, that kind of feeling, or somebody's mother and she's missing and they deserve to know the truth. But I think there's got to be a kind of a nurturing element to really have that kind of passion for this. I don't know if you know the demographics, women versus men who are listening to the podcast or who watch the show, but it just seems like more women are on the case right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, I think I fall into that category. I've loved mysteries from the time I was very, very young, and there's something about solving those pieces and, Nancy Drew and all of that. But yeah, I think our demographics on the original episodes were skewed a little bit more heavily female, but did skew male. I mean, it was like 48, 52, somewhere in there. We don't have any of the demographics for the podcast, but I have heard that just generally women listen to the true crime podcast more. But I don't know what our demographics are.
No, they love it. Let me give a plug. Unsolved Mysteries, the podcast, available now on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and the TV show Unsolved Mysteries is available on Netflix. Terry, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I love talking about Unsolved.
We will check back with you, and I love the fact I'm a private enterprise, kind of let the people do it for themselves, kind of get stuff done better, faster, and deputize everybody. And I love all this. I love that everyone is on the internet solving these things. All right, let me hit Geico, and then we'll bring AJ Benza in. Do you rent your home? Well, you do one or the other, and you work hard. How about you bundle them up with your automotive policy? Geico makes it easy to take your homeowners or renters insurance along with your auto policy and bundle. It's a good thing, too, because you already got so much to do around the house. So just go to geico.com, get a quote, see just how much you could save. It's easy when you bundle at Geico. Do it today at geico.com. All right, AJ Benza is waiting, and we'll talk to him about, he's got Newsom versus Villaraigosa. He's got some J-Lo news. Ooh, Mia Farrow and Woody Allen.
I was curious about that.
Thoughts on that? We'll talk to him right after this. All right, AJ Benza is joining us from Chicago. Is that true?
Yes, I'm seeing family in Chicago. They moved here a couple of years ago to be near the Joey, the famous farter, Joey's kids. He has 2 young daughters. So my sister moved out here to be closer to the long farts. Mm-hmm. And I've been with him quite a bit. We had a lot of manigotta last night, which is a good fuel. Some veal. It should be an interesting night tonight when I see him. It'll be a little noisy. We'll save some for you. We'll send you some zip files.
Yes, please be handy.
I will.
Have the phone handy, because there's nothing that makes me laugh harder than farts and the men that record them. It's
listen. We were so touched to be on the song for your 3000 show, sandwiched in between Dunnigan doing Stallone and AJ Benza's nephew's farts. That is that's like a tombstone kind of thing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
We couldn't believe it. Fantastic.
Well, we couldn't have done it without you, although we probably would have tried. The podcast, Fame is a Bitch and Politics is a Bitch, available on Patreon, by the way, and you can shoot him, find him on Instagram at Real AJ Benza.
Actually, you know what? I got hacked. Somebody hacked me. My Instagram is Pope Benza 2018. Don't ask me how I got hacked, but I got destroyed. I lost everybody. So the best thing is to go look up Pope Benza 2018. But that's fine. But go right ahead.
All right. Well, let's hear what AJ wants to talk about this week.
Well, number one, I like to break news on your guys' show. And a year and a half ago, I said J-Lo and A-Rod would never get married. I said it would never. There's no way. He's too narcissistic. He's too much of a guy who wants to run around and play. We know that he had that little relationship thing with the Southern Charm actress, not actress, reality star Madison LaCroix, who's cute, easy on the eyes. And this is what happens with J-Lo. She can't keep a man. She just can't. And I think it's because she's just very narcissistic and really into herself. They're trying to act like they're still together. TMZ had him calling her babe. They're going through their shit. They're not going to get married. I was right about that. So whatever they're going through now, it has to do with A-Rod probably always wanting to fuck a hot fitness instructor. That's his thing.
Well, my feeling with the J-Los of the world is find a civilian. If you really want love and you want to settle down, and I'm not talking about a bricklayer, find a guy, successful architect or attorney or something like that. Or, what works the best? These gals, they go through all the celebrity dudes and all the Playboy types and all that kind of stuff. And then at some point, they get some tech guy, some 29-year-old nerd who's worth 10 times what the celebrity's worth. But he's like low key, and he didn't get laid in high school, and he whacked off to you when he was 14. And now he's got you in his arms, and he's never letting go. Go get that dude.
Right. He's going to take great care of you. He's got the money. She's got the money. But A-Rod, a year and a half ago, I did a big story for Radar Online. I knew someone whose husband put in all the video and audio in J-Lo's Bel Air house that A-Rod began to stay at. And A-Rod's got a room in that house that has a bunch of TV monitors so he can see all the baseball games because he's a color analyst for Fox and ESPN. One of the stipulations J-Lo wanted was, A-Rod would use the laptop and use one of the screens for his email and everything else. And J-Lo made sure she was able to see what emails he was sending. So believe me, she's seen enough to know what kind of guy he is. A-Rod I'm a Yankee fan. Derek Jeter had the most beautiful girlfriends in the world during the Yankees' great run. A-Rod had Cameron Diaz. He had Kate Hudson. He had Madonna even showed up. It was always a thing. Jeter's girlfriends were ensconced in in a clubhouse kind of, what do you call that? The private booths. But A-Rod's girls had to make a scene. He just loves himself so much that, between the two of them, him and J-Lo, any kind of mirror or reflective surface in that house would send them into orgasmic bliss. They love each other. They're perfect for each other. But he fucks around all the time. He's never going to change. Is
someone like J-Lo, is everything a calculated career-based decision? I mean, does it factor into everything?
Let's go down the list. Mark Anthony, before Mark Anthony, forget about that first guy. That was the first marriage, whatever. Mark Anthony, Puerto Rican, we can both understand each other. We get our whole whole culture. They have 2 kids. Then she goes to Sean Combs, who obviously a great career move for her. She jumps up in notoriety. Then she gets caught in a car with a gun with him. She says, this is not for me. She goes to Ben Affleck, who's up on the rise as an actor director. That didn't work out. Almost destroyed his acting career. And then she goes to A-Rod, and it's another move up. Even though J-Lo you can't dispute how talented she is. She's a great dancer. I could do without her singing, but fuck, she's good at everything she does. I mean, she really is. She's a triple threat. But why, if she's that much of a threat, and God knows she's beautiful. Did you see the movie Hustlers when she played a stripper with Lizzo and Cardi B? It was so fucking bad. I knew that era of scores and the topless girls who did all this kind of stuff. She tries so hard, but she doesn't have to. If she just was normal, she would be so much more appreciated. But she just tried. Super Bowl halftime, I gotta go on a pole and do a strip dance. She just tries too hard.
Speaking on another subject, is Scores still there? By the way,
no. It's it became another company owns it, and there were different scores around the country, but. I got a buddy who's single again, and he's going to strip clubs here and there during the pandemic. And Vegas strip clubs opened up, but the girls danced behind a clear shower curtain, which sounds very sexy.
Yeah.
Oh.
Isn't that great?
Yeah. Right. Well, maybe they saw Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, maybe it's more of a Gallagher thing to protect the girls.
That's a good point.
My recollection is I went to Scores not so long after I'd become a celebrity.
Yeah.
And we're going to New York, and it's like, oh, we got to go by Scores. And my only real recollection of Scores is I sat down at a table, and one of the strippers sat down at the table and said, "Hi, what's your name, honey? What are you doing?" And all that kind of stuff. Mind if I order a drink? She ordered a ginger ale. This is, by the way, like 1998. The ginger ale was $14. And she took one hit off it, set it down, and she's like, "You want to go to the champagne room?" And I'm like, "No, I'm good here for now." And she's like, "Okay," and she left. Now I'm staring at $13.81 worth of ginger ale. I didn't even want a ginger ale. I chugged her whole ginger ale because it was $14 of ginger ale. I was on the hook for it, and I wasn't going to leave $14 worth of ginger ale on that fucking table.
I get it. The reason why I went almost every night, because back when I was a columnist, when Scores began, only me and Howard Stern were talking about it. And I never had to pay for a drink or a meal, which I know strip club food can be kind of not worthy of people talking about. But steak and lobster at Scores was fantastic. And occasionally the girls would sit down and they'd talk to you, and I didn't have to pay for dances. It was the best place in the world. But I remember days where Demi Moore went to practice stripping for her movie Striptease, and another beautiful actress. Do you know the, oh my God, what's her name? Oh, I shouldn't have said this. Brian would know. The beautiful Italian actress, not Maria Grazia Cucinato. There's another beautiful Italian actress who was practicing for a role as a stripper in a movie, but she wouldn't let me know it's her. But
Monica
I clearly knew it was.
Yes.
Good
Monica
draw,
Bellucci did
Brian.
that boy. I knew Brian would get it. Yeah, she was playing
an absolute classic beauty. You guys know Monica Bellucci.
Oh my God.
Of course.
Yeah. She played a stripper in an Italian movie, but she wouldn't let me know that it was her. But clearly I knew that Monica Bellucci was dancing for me. It was very surreal.
She would stand out at a strip club.
Dude, back in the day, Scores would have that moment where all the girls walk out so all the guys could see them. Clearly you can't do that anymore in this world. But they come out in their evening wear, and I'm talking about 50 girls, and 39 of them you'd run away with. just phenomenal. The other 11 you date for about a week, but still not one girl where you go, "Oh, Jesus Christ, what is she doing here?" Now you've got to have every shape and size. You've got to have the Lizzos. You've got to have the girls who are too big, but it's only right. I can't stand what's happening. I can't stand. We can't have black memes now. You can't have an Oprah fucking meme. Camila Cabello's taking black classes of how not to be racist or think racist thoughts. Did you see the Grammys? I called it the Mammies. I know that's going to get me canceled because everything was, let's salute how great black people are, to the point where they said it. We're celebrating black culture. It's the fucking Grammys. White people win Grammys. No, last night it was the BET meets the Source Awards.
Speaking of the chicks, I was watching the commercials, and I watched about the last half hour, but I also like to watch what commercials they run.
Yeah,
and
all black.
I was thinking, oh, hold on. True. There was the Facebook commercial, which was all black and then sort of trans something,
right?
Which was pretty crazy. But there was one for the Venus. It was a Venus shaving commercial, and I'm getting back to what AJ was saying about the strip clubs. Strip clubs, the chicks have gotten too tatted up. Like they're aggressively tatted now, and it's weird, and it doesn't there's something non-sexual about it, or it's hypersexual. Yes. I don't know, but it's not my cup of tea. The tats and these chicks, thigh tats. I don't know. It's one thing, the tramp stamp and the thing behind the neck, but now it's the thighs. I will show you guys this Venus commercials, like the Venus shaver for intimate parts, and model's white.
I couldn't believe it.
Skinny.
Couldn't believe this.
But,
yeah.
But she's got some tats. We'll play it for you.
Yeah, I know.
Corsair, thin skin. When I'm shaving down there, not just any razor will do. New Venus for pubic hair and skin with a patented irritation defense bar. For a smooth shave with blades that barely touch skin.
Whoa. What?
Gina, when you shave your private parts, do you do it in your underwear in the shower, or do you get naked?
Well, yeah, I'm fully sleeved, so I make sure everyone can see that first. But you're kind of bearing the lead. Okay, I totally get it. We do not see that in commercials. She had arm tattoos, leg tattoos. Yeah. Yes. But the other thing, even if it was supposed to be computer generated or whatever, in female shaving commercials, you never see anything that even remotely involves an actual hair follicle.
Yes.
A cleanly shaven leg with razor blades. This one, even if it was animated, it showed female hair coming out of a body, which we never see.
No.
But she had quite a large
very tatted
thigh tattoo, which is always a weird one.
Well, that
There's one peeking out up and down on her camisole, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right boobs.
But that brings me to last night. I was saying before we went on air how crazy things are. You can't read 6 Dr. Seuss books, but kids can sing Wet Ass Pussy in school. And Cardi B can dance on a bed last night with Megan Thee Stallion. And if you noticed, which I'm not sure if people are as nuts as I am, but the 2 pillows on the giant bed were squished together, and then they made like a vagina type hole between the 2 pillows. And Cardi B's got so many tats on her rump and her thigh area. It's disgusting. Like, I understand. Look, if you're into tats, 10% of men might want a chick like that, but the other 90 don't need to see that. And they're just showing, you're right, women being shown with the tramp stamp is one thing, the back of the neck, maybe an ankle. I get it. I don't need to see a whole fucking leg or a hip. And Beyonce.
Agree. But wait a minute. Do you think the pillows were intentionally formed to look like a vulva?
Oh, sure.
Can we find it? I don't know if you can find it, but the Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion are writhing on a bed.
But to be fair, AJ's been over to the shop. We stepped out to smoke a cigarette, and he's looked up at a cloud and said, "Look at that shit. Looks like a black woman's vagine." And I said, AJ, not everything, not everything. So I'm tentative, but I'll look at the clip, and
I'll tell you right now, there are people who. Okay, look at the pillows. Watch.
Here we go.
Behind her.
All right. It is kind of vagina pillow. All right. AJ's right.
Okay.
There is a giant vagina pillow.
Are we ready to declare?
The song is called Wet Ass Pussy.
Wet Ass Pussy.
If the song was if they were singing Wildfire, the 70s song about the horse that ran away, I wouldn't think it was a vagina. But if they were singing about vaginas and I saw the pillow, could be something there.
I did like the go-go dancer dancing inside a giant clear heel.
You see that?
Yeah.
And now I guess I need to apologize to you about that cloud, because I was arguing with you at the time. And
well, do you know what fornophilia is?
No.
Fornophilia is
even if I did, I wouldn't say. Let's be honest.
Fornophilia is people who make love to furniture.
Oh.
There are people who have sex with their futons between underneath the cushion.
Those are called 13-year-old boys.
Yeah. No, we don't. No, not grinding. I remember grinding on things and realizing this feels good. I'm talking about I just went to IKEA and brought home a couch that I want to fuck. It's a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, they usually knock off 10% if it's a returned item, but if AJ drops it off.
There's a restocking fee.
I hate to tell you, Adam, there are people who make love to cars, too. They love the muffler area. They lay down. Okay.
You're talking to one.
I hear that.
Well,
you're not breaking any news here, AJ.
I know. I had a friend who made love to his beanbag chair back in the day, so it was told. And,
wow.
I shared that story with a national audience on MTV.
Oh, wasn't he a teacher?
Ended up being a teacher. And then he called and said he would kill me if I ever mentioned that again.
Wow.
And then they reran the episode 2 weeks later. And unbeknownst to me, and then I got the call now saying I am going to kill you. But he didn't know it was just a rerun of the same episode. So I'm here to tell you it exists. I support AJ in this. The other thing that I find kind of interesting, we'll get to the Grammys, but this is the Grammys. There is a thing that I ran into. There's a math problem with joke intros that I believe I spoke about a little bit when I was writing for the Oscars. And I'll tell you what the math is, and then we'll try to figure out a way to solve the math. So we have Trevor Noah, who's the host, and he did the intro to Harry Styles. I pulled Harry Styles and Billy Bush just to illustrate this sort of fundamental catch-22 of trying to write jokes for the intro. Oh, I said Billy Bush. Sorry, Billie Eilish. Billie Eilish.
Wondering.
Sorry. I've said Billy Bush more than I've said Billie Eilish. And
we're talking about Bush a lot.
Yeah, maybe that's Bush it too.
Vaginas. Yeah, of course.
So I'll play the Trevor Noah. You want to do Harry Styles first? Yeah. All right. Harry C word. Harry Bush. Should we do Harry Bush? I'll take my Tourette's and put them all together. And then I'll tell you kind of what the problem is. So we'll play the clip.
We could not be more excited to kick off our show in the biggest way possible. Performing at the Grammy Awards for the first time ever with 3 Grammy nominations tonight, this guy is a global megastar. Ladies, you better watch out, because he'll steal your heart and your dress, and he'll look damn good doing it. Give it up for Harry Styles.
Oh, boy.
Now, the problem in the problem, and I ran into this when I wrote for the Oscars for two years, which is you're doing the joke before you're doing sort of the setup or the reveal. So it's kind of backwards. So if you say, next up, Harry Styles, he's an international superstar, and sorry, ladies, he probably looks better in a dress than you do. Welcome, Harry Styles. Then there's a context for the joke, and I'll show you Billie Eilish as well, Billie Eilish as well, because but just to show you, it's a fundamental flaw in that they have to tell the joke first and then give you the context. But it always hurts the joke because it's like you're roasting. It's like if Jeff Ross did the roast joke and then said who he was roasting.
Oh, God.
It wouldn't go very well.
And I'm trying to figure out something that's a satisfying way to do this, because they want to do the reveal where they announce the person's name, but they also insist on doing the joke. We'll play you the Billy one in a second. I think we have it.
All right, no time to waste, people. Singing her Grammy-nominated record of the year smash hit, Everything I Wanted. This is Billie Eilish.
Oh, wrong Billie Eilish intro. You can ask. Okay, no, it was toward the end. It was like the last half hour one. Anyway, we'll find it. They did that. He did.
You're right though. Like when
Yes.
When they're able to pull this off, when I say they, being any host in any show, it has to be done very sort of artfully and craftily. I'm reminded of when Ricky Gervais famously made the joke about Mel Gibson. She didn't know until he revealed, like, hey, because he's just sitting there drinking a beer, like, I'd like a drink as much as the next guy.
Right.
The next guy is Mel Gibson. Ladies and gentlemen, Mel Gibson. This is an artful unfolding of that joke, but that's that's hard to pull off.
Yeah. Also, they're pushing. They're dying to push Harry Styles has no problem being either gender with what he wears. So that joke was something that I'm not sure they'd want to write as much as they want people to still know, hey, this is the guy that wears dresses on the cover of Vogue.
But you're shooting, when you write for those things, you're shooting for a funny intro for all of them. But it's inherently flawed because the joke comes before who we know the joke was aimed at. And that's why they never really get the response. You're right. When they do the monologue, that can be as funny as they want it to be because they don't have this sort of catch-22 context order problem. And they're going to have to solve it by either. I remember, I think when I was writing for the Oscars, I said, I don't even think we should write jokes for this. They never land. Yeah. Just introduce the person. Just go straight and introduce them, or do it with a chyron or something. Like next up, whoever, Harry Styles or Harry Bush and Billy Bush.
Harry Bush. Harry Bush.
And all that stuff. You know what it was, Chris? It wasn't them introducing Billie Eilish. It was him saying Billie Eilish, but she didn't perform. It was at the end.
Yeah, I see some of the transcript. We're just trying to find that.
It was a joke about parents being disappointed that your teens didn't make this kind of money or something. Again, it was all fine, but we don't know who we don't know who he's talking about. So the joke lays there. That was how it went. We'll find it. Woody Allen versus Mia Farrow. How many parts is that system? That series? Sorry.
4. It's over. It ended Sunday night. Yeah.
Yep.
I've only seen 2.
Well, I chased this story as a journalist in New York. I was dispatched to find Soon Yi, and when everything broke, I was everywhere. And what I learned over time, and look, we all think that Woody falling in love with Soon Yi is weird. There's no doubt about it. But I don't believe a word of what Mia Farrow says and Dylan Farrow says. I've gone through this 1,000 times as a journalist with people. I know what the brother Moses says. Everything she cooked up in that attic with the train set isn't true. There was no train set in the attic. I've talked to girls who've gotten abused as young children, and they agree. I said, would daddy promise the daughter a trip to Paris and to put her in a movie at 7 years old? Doesn't a girl that young want to go to Disneyland? Don't you just want a toy? Why the fuck would a dad say, let me touch you, I'll put you in a movie, I'll take you to Paris? That's not what, this is just one angle.
Well, to be fair, most of the dads that do the molesting are long-haul truckers. So I'm going to drive this Peterbilt to Paris, France, and I'm your star in the next Disney movie. Like that, they're probably not going to be able to launch that. But if your dad is Woody Allen, I don't know, maybe it's sellable.
I'm going to ask you right now, and none of you will know this answer. How many children do you think Mia Farrow has?
Like 9.
Okay, next. Who else? Adam?
11.
Brian, chip in. Brian?
10. I'll split the difference.
14. Okay? Oh. She's mentally ill when it comes to that. She coached this girl to do this. It took days and days to get that video done. And we're talking about how many years ago? Way before the iPhone. To sit there with a 7-year-old. We all have children. We know how hard that is to do. She coached this girl to answer questions the way she needed them answered. Every facet of the law investigated it. Everything came back. No, this sounds like a girl coached. Nothing happened. And yet these two filmmakers make this documentary, this series, punishing Woody Allen again. He looks like a guy you want to think is a creep because of the Soon Yi shit. But I was with him in New York. He was we just came to love Woody Allen. Forget his movies. He was accepted that that's his girl, and now that's his wife. If he was a pedophile, he would have done this at least a few times. Not once in the attic with an imaginary train set that doesn't exist. And everybody in the house that day was there specifically to watch Woody because Mia didn't trust him because it was a custody battle. And he didn't get away. So it's all nonsense. I hate to say it, but Mia Farrow cooked the books on this.
What was the court findings? I know there was some.
They found nothing. I mean, 3 or 4 different agencies, so to speak, lawyers, child welfare groups, you name it. All of them found there's nothing concrete here. It sounds like the girl was coached. And that has angered Mia Farrow for all these years. And so if you're a filmmaker and you lean toward her side, it's great fodder for a documentary. But they're not going to interview Moses Farrow, who has said in letters.
He wouldn't interview.
But he said, this is nonsense. My father didn't do this. I was with him that day. I was 14 years old. He never left our side. There's no train set up there. Like Moses disputes all of it, but they'll never talk to him. So this is a very one-sided piece of documentary footage or documentary series. It's not fair. And what outside of Mia Farrow working for Woody Allen, can you tell me what else she's done in movies? Can you tell me another director she's worked for?
Well, Rosemary's Baby is about it.
No, that was of course, but we're talking
She
40,
said,
50 years ago.
Just because I finished the series, she said, I couldn't work after that. I did a movie in Ireland, I did a movie in wherever else, Finland or whatever. But Woody said you wouldn't work here, and he saw to it that I couldn't work here.
A good actress will always work. She's a kook. People don't want to work with a kook. Good actresses get work.
She was good. I saw Radio Days the other day.
Hark, I hear the cannons roar. Is it the king approaching? I guess it helped I had the hiccups.
And Broadway Danny Rose as well.
Yeah.
That was Woody, though. I mean, she's great when I love Mia Farrow in movies. I love those two together. They made magic together.
Well, I got a rundown from superfan Giovanni about this and about how the nannies sort of retracted their statements, recanted their statements and things of that nature. And it did seem like there's a lot more gray area here than how it was presented via the documentary.
But one thing real quick, she's a very vindictive person to the tune of many. When I used to hang out with Robert Evans, and he made Rosemary's Baby with Mia. At the same time, Frank Sinatra was with her and wanted her to leave the movie and be in his movie, The Detective. And she went to Bob Evans crying, and Bob said, Mia, you can't leave. You're on the contract. But Bob, if I don't leave, Frank's going to divorce me. So Bob said to her, I've seen the dailies. You're going to win Best Actress. You're that good. And when when Rosemary's Baby came out and the grosses beat The Detective, Frank's movie, she couldn't wait to buy a full-page ad in Variety to show the grosses of her movie versus the grosses of Sinatra's movie. She's a very vindictive type of person. Women don't do that and back off from it years later. That's her makeup.
I'm not here to defend Mia Farrow. I don't know anything about her, but didn't Sinatra serve her divorce papers on set? I mean, she kind of had it, she had to justified and kind of sticking him the finger.
I understand that he did that. He was a big shit back then. But Mia Farrow is known as a kooky chick, and of course Woody's known as a creepy guy because of Soon Yi. But I just don't believe the Dylan Mia stuff. I think she did a lot of coaching.
The one thing that I haven't heard you disputing, and I didn't hear anyone in the series disputing, which is probably a good thing since we're talking about someone who was a little kid, is no one's blaming Dylan for this. It's not like it's more like if they're talking about, if there was implanted fake, false memories or led her down a way, you can't blame who's remembering something from their 7 years old.
Dylan. No, I wouldn't blame a little girl for that. I think mommy's very persuasive in what you're supposed to say. I hate to even think that that's what went on, but there are some women who can do that. There are some men who can do that. I think this is what this is about, and it's just become Mia's lifetime dream and goal is to punish him and punish him and punish him. I'm Team Woody. I'll always be Team Woody.
Well, speaking of that, Newsom versus Villaraigosa. Villaraigosa was the mayor here in Los Angeles felt like forever, probably about 8 years. And I was happy to see Villaraigosa go, and then we got Garcetti, where
I know the worst.
Garcetti's just he's just a wilted houseplant. He's a wuss. I don't know who he is.
I heard his wife really makes a lot of the big decisions, and he lets her kind of But I said to Chris that one of my sources told me that obviously that Villaraigosa is going to run against Newsom in this recall thing if it all goes through. A lot of people have said, be careful what you wish for. You think Newsom is a certain way, but maybe he's not as bad as the next guy. None of us like Villaraigosa, but I think we all feel that Newsom has had his time and enough is enough.
Well, the thing about Newsom is Newsom's not dumb. He's just a sociopath, and he's power hungry, and he doesn't give a fuck about anything other than that. Villaraigosa is flat out dumb. He's just a dumb ass dude. He's failed. I think he failed the bar 4 times, and then he didn't pass it on the 5th attempt. He never did it again. Failing it 4 times was enough to know how fucking dumb he is. Could you imagine? Wow. Imagine Los Angeles I think they'd say is about the fifth, sixth, seventh, I don't know, largest economy in the world.
Yeah.
Imagine a guy running the fifth largest economy in the world who failed the bar 4 fucking times. I mean, Garagos's kid passed it on the first try. I'm sure Kim Kardashian will do it in under 3. The guy who's running that economy failed the bar 4 times and then never passed it. Just quit. His name is Tony Villar. It's not Villaraigosa. Took the name from his wife, tried to Latin it up, then cheated on the wife. He's a spokesperson for or works for Herbalife now. I mean, could you get how much lower could you get than this fucking imbecile running the state? He wants to now run the state now. We're gonna have to do better.
I know you don't have.
Yes,
I know you don't have time for this, but ever since you destroyed him on the show, Newsom, with the Chinese and Asian people and blacks and the whole checking account nonsense, you destroyed Newsom. I would love, just like Howard Stern was saying many years ago, he'd run for governor. Adam Carolla for governor would be a landslide winner.
Oh, I don't know.
You don't have the time. I know you don't want the job, but clearly you defeat these assholes.
I would vote for anyone at this point who's just a pragmatist. Just
I don't think
a
anyone
nuts
has
and
any
bolts.
No one has a nostalgia for the good old Villaraigosa days. Like no one's like, oh, if we only could get him back.
Yeah.
No,
you're right.
No, I know.
It's terrible.
And we'll see. I mean, they got enough votes for the recall. The good news about the recall is it's forced Newsom to start opening theaters and gyms and schools. It's forced him to get off his ass a little bit, because if this thing was still shut down as we're heading into these runoff elections and whatnot, he'd be soup. So he decided, well, I like the optics of trying to open shit up. So we get to benefit from that.
Yeah, we just keep the anvil over his head, and now he really is a public servant.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, maybe you guys can help me out. So Biden and Kamala Harris and Pelosi and Schumer, everybody gets vaccinated, but yet they still wear masks. I don't understand that. Biden walks to the podium with a mask on. Okay. But now the other thing is, last night at the Grammys, Trevor Noah's maskless. Everybody who's sitting in those 11 tables are wearing masks. As soon as they win, they take the mask off to talk. If you're performing, your mask is off. What the fuck is the point of all this?
The point is,
if you're in a restaurant, you can walk to your table with a mask. You sit down, no mask. Come on.
Oh, by the way, there was last time I went out to eat, there was a thing that said, here's the protocols on the table. And, take your mask off, but then when your server comes by, put the mask back on. But then when the drinks come, you can take the mask off when the food. And the person I was with went, oh, so they want us to put the mask on when the waitress comes by? I said, they don't give 2 fucking shits. They have to put the fucking paper out so the health department won't shut them down. They don't give a fuck. They work at a restaurant. They would like to be at 100% capacity. They wouldn't be here if they were fucking pussy cowards like the rest of the people in California. And they don't give 2 shits. They're forced to do this warning thing that the rules are laid out. They're on every table. It's all theater. Of course, look no further than an airplane. Mask on. Here's some snacks. Mask off. Done with the snacks. Mask on again. Pulled over your nose. It's all theater. And the reason Biden and Kamala Harris and all those folks wear it is because they believe that they're sending a message, which is they need to see examples of people wearing masks. But it's a retarded example because everyone's been vaccinated. They're going to push for the mask after everyone is vaccinated as well, which is insane. There are people who wear masks. There are people who don't wear masks. The message is clear. It's out. We've all heard it 10,000 times. I'll liken it to seatbelts. Most people wear seatbelts. Certain people don't. Good luck convincing them. If Biden walked out there with a sash of a seatbelt across his suit, you think you'd get your weird old uncle who swore off seatbelts to now wear a seatbelt? No, we are in 2 camps. there's the wear the mask camp, and then there's I'm not going to wear a mask camp, and no visual references of as a matter of fact, I would probably say at this point in our history, as the pandemic goes, the people who have decided to wear a mask are already masked up. I see them walking alone on the beach. I see them walking alone on the horse trail. I see them driving alone in the car. They are wearing masks. The people who've decided we're not wearing masks are not wearing masks. And Biden showing up with a mask probably gets more people to not wear a mask who may have been on a fringe than because the people that are already wearing masks are wearing masks. If that's what you decided, that's what you decided.
But when Biden says in his national address, if we want to all be vaccinated by May, and then by July 4th, you can have small gatherings in your backyard. Fuckface, if I'm vaccinated in May, which I'm not going to do, you can't tell me I need a mask in small groups in July. If we're supposed to believe the science, what is that science? What is he talking about?
First off, I was in Oklahoma City playing sold-out clubs, going to restaurants, flying Ubers.
It's
the
great.
Fucking rest of the country's open. I don't know. I don't know if they don't understand that the rest of these places. I've been traveling the country the entire time doing everything.
Right.
The fucking airline flights are packed. Everything is open. Anyway, the small gatherings at the barbecue by the 4th of July, it's fucking condescending. It's insanity. And if you want to talk about following the science, once everyone's vaccinated, what the fuck do we have to keep it to small? Whatever. But someone needs to inform these assholes. It's already done. It's open. I'm going to fucking Reno this weekend and doing a bunch of shows. I've been to Texas 3 or 4 times. I've been to Nashville. I've been Oklahoma City. We've been everywhere that doesn't have Gavin Newsom as a governor, and it's fucking wide open, and everyone are living their lives, and their kids are back to school. This is only California that is shut down, and parts of New York and New Jersey and maybe some of Michigan. This is not the world anymore, and by the time we get to July 4th, people are ignoring every single thing the government tells them to do. All right, and, Tin Horn Flats, the restaurant that's 2 miles from here.
I ate there a month ago.
Just had the Burbank City Council shut their electricity. So their electricity's been shut off.
Villaraigosa is representing that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so this whole big speech of together and government and we are government and together and we are in government. And the government's the one who fucking makes insane proclamations about eating outdoors. And when they're ignored by small business, then they fucking shut them down and shut their electricity. So no, it's not all government. We're all together and it's one big happy fucking family. And if we just do, we have to follow your retarded science. There is I talked to Drew yesterday. He said there's no outdoor transmission at all. It doesn't exist. There are no instances of outdoor transmission. But you just decide to you take these businesses that are already beleaguered because you shut their indoor business, you force them all out to the fucking sidewalk with tents, and then based on zero information, you shut down all outdoor dining, and somebody defies you and your fucked up retarded logic, and now you're going to come down on them and make an example out of them by by shutting their electricity. All right, pardon me. Maybe I'm a little skeptical of government. Maybe I don't think they're so good at their jobs. Maybe I think they get a little heavy-handed at times. So here's the good news. Texas is wide open, is absolutely wide open. And as you hear this, we're coming up on a week of Texas. They were open before this. So was Florida. They're going to be just wide open. And then when nothing happens, then may we get our gyms to 20% capacity? Or open schools 2 days a week. Once nothing happens in fucking Texas, can we do something close to normal in California? Or do we do we have our own California strain of this disease?
Variant?
Do we have our own variant?
The variants of what they're doing is scary. The only thing they have left to scare people with is this nebulous variance, which sounds really bad, except for the pesky fact that in reality, the variants are closer to the common cold than they are to anything else. You know, if bars and restaurants were thought or alleged or blamed as the most dangerous places to be for the last year, with their reopening being chastised as the primary source of the spread, why aren't bar and restaurant workers the first to be fucking vaccinated? I'm an asshole and I can figure that out. Why are teachers who are undoubtedly in the safest environment in the single workforce of all time at the front? Why aren't they getting shots right away? It's all bullshit.
I agree. It kills old people and people with pre-existing conditions, and that's not something they wanted us to know. All right. We have an outro for AJ.
That was Allegedly with AJ Benza. Called that so we don't get sued. All views and opinions expressed in this segment are lightly researched and or complete conjecture based on hearsay and rumor from loose connections within the entertainment industry. There is no concrete way to prove that any of the claims made by AJ are in fact accurate and not libelous or defamatory. But again, we remind any legal representation who may be listening that the view and opinions expressed belong to AJ and only AJ, host of Fame is a Bitch, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
All right. We got the news.
Give me the news with Grad. News with Gina Grad. Breaking viral. Weird crime, protest, politics. Give me news with Gina Grad. Stuff they saw on TMZ. Joe Biden. Kamala. Meet news with Gina Grad.
The news with Gina Grad.
Start with something that I imagine, AJ, you either have an opinion on or some insight, a double barrel here. So we've all heard now of the publication Charlie Hebdo, of course, from Paris, who, they got their offices shot up because of a depiction of Muhammad and, they're very controversial. Well, they have a new cover that is eliciting a pretty big response. It is, and we have it. It's a cartoon depicting the Queen of England kneeling on the neck of Meghan Markle.
Wow.
That's, of course, invoking the George Floyd incident.
Wow.
The cover image came days after Meghan's and Harry's, damning accusations of what's going on in Buckingham Palace. They did with Oprah Winfrey about Archie's skin color, about them ignoring Meghan Markle's plea for, more mental health care. In the interview, Meghan also described, they didn't offer her adequate protection and security. So this Charlie Hebdo cover page is what they got from that. And I'll just double on that, saying that Buckingham Palace, of course, announced it's hiring an independent investigator to look into the bullying allegations against Meghan Markle. Now, staff, and I think AJ will probably have some insight on this, some staffers accuse Meghan of creating the toxic work environment, bullying them, bringing them to tears. The law firm that will be leading the probe will conduct interviews with everyone except Meghan and Harry, because they feel like, they've said their piece. Now let's hear from these guys. Royal sources say the inquiry will cover some harrowing stories which have not been made public.
Wow. Well, first of all, I think it's a brilliant cartoon, although I think Meghan Markle's knee should be on the Queen's neck, because I think what she pulled off in that interview with Oprah, the worst interview of all time. Oprah is not a master interviewer. She just let Meghan and Harry talk, and most of it was nonsense. My people inside that whole thing tell me that Camilla Bowles was the person who remarked about the possible skin color of Archie before he was born. Now he's as white as fucking Shirley Temple. No one cares. Meghan Markle's a 1/8 black. I'm from Sicily. I have 5% black in me. I'm darker than Meghan Markle. I'm so sick of these people acting like you can't disagree with anybody who's got any bit of color in them or you're a racist. The fact is, what she did, what she's been doing, and I'm telling you right now, please hold me to this. I know Prince Philip is 99 years old and always sick. To take away the narrative from all this nonsense, this guy's going to die, but not die from natural causes. They're going to make sure Prince Philip dies fast, whether they give him enough morphine, cut off his oxygen, create a new infection. He's going to go within the next 2 or 3 weeks to take the narrative away and make some sympathy be thrown on the palace. Because what Meghan Markle and Harry have done to them right now is nonsense. These fucking people are multimillionaires. No one's worried about their feelings. It's all bullshit.
I had this thought, because my thoughts are always this. we always talk about how racist our culture is and our society is, and, you know, how difficult it is to be black in this culture. If that, in fact, is true, then how come people that are born to a mixed family, you have a white father and a black mother,
I always say
you come out in some way where I couldn't tell if you were white or Italian or Puerto Rican or half black or anything. Why do you identify as black if, in fact, we live in a horrible racist culture? Why not?
I always say
why
that.
choose that side? I mean, if you went back historically, there are plenty of examples, you know, think Germany, where people may have been half Jewish going, what do you mean? I'm not half Jewish. I'm fucking full Aryan. Like, I'm not.
Here, and in this country as well, it was called passing.
Yeah, right,
so
right.
You'd want to because you were safer that way.
Why is someone who can pass for white bending over backwards to identify as that, if in fact that's the culture? Now, that's not the culture, and that's why they're doing it. They get more good than bad out of it. Yes. Go ahead.
It's called professional victimhood.
Yes.
I had a girlfriend who was an eighth black. She saw me beat up a black cab driver and she was screaming, crying. I said, "What's your problem?" "I'm black." "Yeah, okay. But you're 1/8 black. Like, no one knows you're black unless you scream it." But it's victimhood.
And then she yelled, "Dad, are you okay?"
No.
Why I'm beating his ass?
Look, Derek Jeter, we see his mom and dad at the Yankee games. You know, white mom, black dad, but they call him a black ball player. Mariah Carey is a black singer. No one wants to go, well, wait a minute, we did Ancestry.com. I'm only 22% black. Even if they were, they still will say I'm black or a person of color, which covers everything.
Well, what is Meghan?
I just think
what's Meghan Markle? Is she half?
I think no. Her mom is black. Her mother's not all black. Her mother's not all black. So that makes her probably a quarter. That makes Archie a fucking octoroon. Nobody cares when it gets down to that little bit of color. You certainly can't scream it from a mountaintop and expect to get some sympathy and reparations because, by the way, the Bridgerton, the TV show, was all about how there was a black, like the church, hundreds and hundreds of years of interspecies sex. They come from black people. Go watch Bridgerton. It's all about that.
Interspecies?
The black.
Interspecies?
No. Sorry. Interracial. No. Interracial sex, not interspecies. The point is, yes, there's black in the castle. There's black in the royal family, but they think that Meghan Markle's, it's too pronounced and Archie would look black. They just want this. If you're Meghan Markle and you think you're going to commit suicide because you had a fight with your sister-in-law about clothes, or the people are bothering you about what your son's going to look like, I'm with Piers Morgan. And poor Sharon Osbourne, who protects Piers Morgan and says to Cheryl Underwood on the talk, tell me what he said. What's racist? Now there's a big investigation. The talk's off the air for 2 or 3 days.
Really?
And Sharon Osbourne's she's going to lose her fucking job. Because
I'm surprised you didn't know.
I never heard this story.
Man.
Well, the thing about
it's terrible.
Here's
You're
the
a big talk fan.
I know. Here's the big problem. The Piers Morgan is sharing his opinion because that's his fucking job. So this notion where we put people into a position where we want commentary, we want their opinion can be based on expertise, it can be based on history, it can be based on a gut feeling, it can be based on people they know who they've spoken to. But either way, it's their fucking opinion. So when Piers shares his opinion, he's just sharing his opinion. And he's saying, I don't believe her. Based on his opinion. He should be welcome to that. And as a matter of fact, when you're doing a format, that's kind of what you want. You want 5 people all with the same opinion? I think not. No. So there's that. My problem with her is when she was laying out the curtsy thing and how that seemed like a bridge too far. She was sort of offended that someone was explaining to her, do you know how to curtsy? The fact that she chose to use that as an example shows that she's not calibrated correctly. You shouldn't be saying that into a hot mic. That is not an example of you being oppressed or you being held down or racism or anything of any kind. That's you're driving to Buckingham Palace and someone is asking you because you're from Encino, do you know how to curtsy? That's a very valid question. And if you would like to take that and convert it into something negative or oppressive, then that's the mode you're in. You're in the conversion mode. Way too many people are in the fucking conversion mode.
The subtext over there was like, can you believe it? It's like, yes, we can all believe it.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
why can't you believe it?
Right. So that brings into question, for me, some of the other things she said. Now, Piers is allowed to give his opinion, and then they're allowed to fire him, or he's stormed off, or whatever it is. Yeah. God bless Piers Morgan, because when he was interviewed the next day, he was like, fuck you guys. That's my opinion. I still believe it. You're entitled to your opinion, but this is my opinion. So I'm going to leave with my dignity and my goddamn opinions versus Chris from The Bachelor, the host of The Bachelor, who just groveled and groveled. Chris Harrison just groveled and groveled and licked sack, and now he's out anyway. So that lesson to the kids, you're going to be out anyway. At least escape with your dignity, like Piers Morgan versus Chris Harrison.
Because now Holly Robinson Pete went back in her files in her head and said, well, when I did the talk, Sharon Osbourne complained I was too ghetto. So Osbourne's done. You can't even say, Chris Cuomo one time said, I'm black inside. Now, I've got a lot of friends who are black, and since I'm Sicilian and I have a certain attitude, they'll tell me, they won't say you're black. They'll say the N-word to me. Now, I could never say that. But the fact is, there are some people who get along with the other races in the world, and it's no problem. But Sharon Osbourne's going to lose her job. And Piers Morgan knew Meghan Markle. She used to go to his bar. She was going there to meet Harry. He had a friendship with her. He's allowed to say what he wants to say, but it's all over. It's all over. You can't disagree with anything black, anybody black. And I'm telling you, I'm going to give you a prediction, and you can hold me to it. Number one, I'll tell you that Harry and Meghan will be divorced soon. He knows he does not belong here with this bitch. He belongs back in England with his family. The other prediction is, before we lose, I'm off the show. I'm telling you, Adam, eventually, I said we can't say Mr. Coffee. That's going to happen within a second. You can't say master bedroom. That's already been established. Pretty soon, you're not going to see the word cotton on the back of your clothes tags.
This is a weird thing. First off, wait, we can't say Mr. Coffee? Oh, because there's no Mrs. Coffee?
You can't.
Mr.
No gender.
Potato Head.
Mr. Potato Head, Mr. Coffee, very bad.
Well, great minds, AJ, because about 3 days ago, I was walking up my stairs in my house, and I saw one of those ceramic containers with the lid on it that you put on top of your bathroom countertop, and it said cotton. It just said cotton on it. And I thought, at some point, that's going to be problematic. And everyone kind of goes, oh, get the fuck out of here. But look how far we've come in the last year and a half. I mean, in terms of what's problematic. Seems like.
What about the song?
Oh,
Remember
yeah.
The fabric of our lives.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Look Away. We will get to that, because the thing that's interesting with Sharon Osbourne and Chris Harrison is you don't have to be a primary person anymore. You can get fragged for defending the person that did the primary insult, which is kind of a scary. So now what we're doing is the people who crossed whatever invisible line we've drawn in the sand about race talk, they're getting wished out in the cornfield. And then all the others who would have defended them in the past are zipping it now because they're going to get wished out. So the message is being sent that do not even try to defend a colleague. You shall be wished out into the cornfield as well. I'll tell you, fear, man, it's a bitch.
There you go.
Fear and
good.
Yeah. Go ahead. AJ, say it. Fear, it's a bitch.
Fear is a bitch. Listen, there's a school in New York City, a private school, that's now told their children, you cannot say mom and dad anymore in school. It's parents or it's folks.
Oh,
Obama made the word folks so wonderful. Hey, the folks can't say mom and dad.
There's a
Fuck
whole.
you. I have a mother and a father.
There's a whole menu of that's an interesting story too. There's a whole menu of what to call your parents, what to call schoolmates, not boys and girls or moms and dads.
No,
and it's oh boy. The language, people, look for the goddamn language. All right, let's do another one, Gina Grad.
All right. Well, we talked a little about the Grammys. We talked about the Oscars, but let's talk about everyone's favorite nominees, the Razzies. Those are out, and Robert Downey Jr.'s Doolittle leads the nominees for the 41st annual Golden Raspberry Award.
It might be a great year for the Razzies.
Yeah, the one-time Iron Man, he scored 2, one for the worst actor, one for the worst scene combo in his, quote, utterly unconvincing Welsh accent in the fantasy flick. Doolittle is also up for Worst Picture. This is going to be announced on April 24th, the day before the Oscars. I'll just run down these, and you like the Oscars, you may not be familiar with some of these movies.
Go right ahead.
Worst Picture, 365 Days. Absolute Proof, Doolittle, Fantasy Island, and Music. Now, we never did talk about Music. I had a story that I'd been sitting on. I just got rid of it. But Music was directed by Sia. The movie was directed by Sia.
Right.
Big problems.
Kate Hudson, right? Kate Hudson?
Yes, played the mother or the caretaker or whatever. Maddie Ziegler, was the little girl from Dance Moms. I mean, I don't know.
Oh, God.
But Sia plucked her out of the chorus and put her in all of her music videos. So if you've seen a Sia music video, you've seen this little girl dancing. She's now, she's a teenager now.
Right.
And she plays a girl, this is from memory from reading the synopsis, but she plays an autistic girl named Music.
Oh, boy.
And apparently it's
poorly
offensive.
Poorly conceived.
Man, is that bad.
So let's move on to Worst Actor. Robert Downey Jr. for Doolittle. Mike Lindell, the My Pillow guy, for Absolute Proof.
Oh, come on.
Michelle Maroney, 365 Days. Adam Sandler for Hubie Halloween.
Come on. That was not that bad. No.
David Spade for The Wrong Missy. And here's Worst Actress.
That was a funny movie, The Wrong Missy.
I heard that was a funny
it
movie.
was great.
I liked it.
Anne Hathaway for, I don't know, Brian, do you know the last thing he wanted?
Oh, my God.
That and The Witches. Yeah. Katie Holmes for Brahms, The Boy 2, and The Secret, Dare to Dream. Kate Hudson for Music. Lauren Lapkus for The Wrong Missy. And Anna Maria.
I thought Lauren Lapkus was great in that.
She was great.
Yeah.
She was great.
I think it might actually be slim pickings for the Razzies as well. And just because this is funny, Worst Supporting Actress. Lucy Hale for Fantasy Island, Maggie Q for Fantasy Island, Kristen Wiig, Wonder Woman, Maddie Ziegler, Music. But always funny when this happens. As Brian mentioned, she is up for an Oscar for this. Glenn Close for Hillbilly Elegy.
Perfect.
Well, they shit on Hillbilly Elegy because of the whole politics of it all, but she was really good in that.
Well, she earned herself an Oscar nomination.
She should win the Oscar. I looked at the list briefly today.
Shouldn't win the Oscar.
With the people she's up against, I think Glenn Close did better than I saw 3 of those movies, so I can't speak for the other 2. But for what I saw, I think Glenn Close uglied herself up. She's been nominated 8 times and not one. She's one of our best actresses of all time. It's time for Glenn Close to win. Why not?
Glenn Close has never won an Oscar?
No, 0 for 8, 0 for 7, and now this is
Albert Nobbs.
She was
she never
was
won an
good
Oscar.
in Hillbilly Elegy, but what are they doing? What is the Razzies doing? I mean, why are they doing that? Well, why are they taking someone who turned in a good performance and giving her a Razzie?
I don't think it's the first time that's happened. But,
it's happened before.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny when it does.
Isn't it? Won't they do it for different movies? Like Sandra Bullock will be in a good movie, and then Sandra Bullock will be in, Police Force 17 or something.
Right.
And then the same one, but for the same film?
The same performance.
Very strange.
But that's weird. Doesn't that kind of screw with their...
It is weird.
Screws with their format? Doesn't it?
Maybe.
Well, let me ask you guys a question. I went on your recommendation of the movie Boss Level. I think Frank Grillo's a cool dude. I liked it. Yeah, it was a fun movie, but if you don't know video games, I watched this with my 70-something-year-old sister and a husband. They didn't know what the hell was going on. Frank Grillo's a cool-looking dude. And I saw him in a movie with Bruce Willis last night, some interspace thing, the year 2500. His name is above Bruce Willis in a movie now? That's...
Wow.
When did this happen?
I guess 10 minutes ago, but good for Frank Grillo.
I
hope you were recording their farts the entire time when they were shaking their head, not getting the references to Donkey Kong.
I'm coming back to L.A. No, that's not him. It's their son, my nephew. There'll be plenty of guests. I'll send you some JPEGs. Don't worry about it.
Please.
We're eating a lot.
Hey. All right. I'm going to buy everyone a minute here, but see if the Razzies have done this for the same person in the same movie, not the same person in two different movies, because I find that interesting. And then I'm trying to figure out what their motivation is, because I feel like the Razzies are the Razzies.
Without knowing, I'll bet it's happened a couple times before. Maybe it makes sense with Glenn Close this year, because that was as interesting as that performance was. It was a bit over the top, a bit colorful, a bit silly, but it stood out. It was interesting. It was good.
You know what? To me, it stood out like Allison Janney did in I, Tonya. Completely crazy, bad mom, bitchy mom.
Yeah.
But let me ask you a question. Was Dirty Grandpa this year? Because Robert De Niro should run away with it. Was that this year,
That was
Brian,
like
or
3
last
years ago, I think.
Okay.
All right.
Terrible.
Look for that, because it doesn't make sense to me. But let me tell you about Liquid IV. Oh, I love this stuff. I always travel with this stuff because I tend to have a few pops on the airplane. Those who listen understand that. And then I go out to the club and I do a few shows and have a couple pops after the show. And Liquid IV is something that always comes with me in my travel bag. Drink it before you go to bed if you've had a couple of cold ones, or, exercise. Working hard, working out hard, sleep deprivation. It's good for that too. One stick is like drinking 2 cups of coffee. That's for the energy multiplier. That'll get you back in the game fast. Natural alternative to processed energy drinks. And you get tired during the day. Some people sort of hit that wall at like 3 o'clock. They want to take a nap. Get some of that Liquid IV energy multiplier. And, half Americans struggle with daily fatigue. I didn't know that. Lack of motivation, poor mood, decreased focus. I like the lemon lime strawberry flavor myself. Clean ingredients, non-GMO, vegan and gluten and dairy-free, soy-free as well. Extremely convenient. The packaging, like I said, when I travel, I always take it with me, my travel kit. It's Liquid IV, right, Dawson?
Grab your energy Liquid IV in bulk nationwide at Costco, or you can get 25% off when you go to liquidiv.com and use code ADAM at checkout. That's 25% off anything you order when you use promo code ADAM at liquidiv.com. Start fueling your adventures today at liquidiv.com, promo code ADAM.
Well, I owe everyone an apology. Wait, no. Glenn Close is the only one nominated for the same movie. So it's not their thing.
It? Wow.
Or so said Max Zapata. I don't know.
I'm looking at the Hollywood Reporter, and there's 11. You're right, not for the same performance. But then I'm looking farther down, and I mean, it's not a topical reference, but it says Amy Irving in Barbra Streisand's directorial debut,
Yentl.
Amy Irving plays the young Jewish, blah, 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 blah. Interestingly, Razzie voters listed Irving as a nominee for the Worst Supporting Actress Award for the same performance as her Oscar nod. So I know that's a pretty deep cut.
Well, it's been 44 years, but it's happened, I guess.
And I guess I'm looking at James Coco. There's I don't know who. If in Only When I Laugh, James Coco starred as Jimmy Prino. Blah 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 blah.
Very old movie.
A year after the first ever Razzie Awards, Coco made history by becoming not only the first actor to receive both Oscar and Razzie nomination in the same year, but also the first actor to receive both nominations for the same performance.
Well,
so
then there's precedent, but it's been 50 years, but they've done it.
Yeah.
AJ was right, by the way. 8 nominations for Glenn Close, no wins.
Unbelievable.
I mean, she's one of the treasures of American acting. Glenn Close needs to win one.
I agree. She's a great actress, and she's been in so many movies. I'm surprised. I would have assumed that she had one with all these rows.
Brian, who beat her the year of Fatal Attraction, for God's sake?
Oh, God. That was 87, so who?
I don't know who. I have my phone. I can't use my phone, but if there was ever a year she was going to win, my God. Every man's nightmare.
A movie you probably didn't see, but is up against her in supporting actress is Minari, and the grandma in Minari is spectacular.
Just to answer your question, if we're talking about 1987, you will not be surprised. And to bring the whole show full circle, Marley Matlin.
Oh.
Children of a Lesser God.
Children of a Lesser God. And by the way,
we better close out now while we can.
The Asian woman who's up for whatever that movie is, Variety or the Hollywood Reporter wrote something about there's a bunch of Asian people up for awards, and they said they're breaking the bamboo ceiling, which you can't. Well, they said it, but it was the title of a very famous book. Really? So the person thought they were being cute, but of course everybody jumped on. I think it was the Hollywood Reporter. Can you take this headline down? It's so bad. It's so embarrassing. It's this. But they were trying to play off the book title that was a big seller many years ago, but didn't work out.
According to Max Zapata, Glenn Close lost a share for Moonstruck. Marley Matlin was the year before.
Oh, so it must have been 88.
Oh, and I remember it clearly because if I close my eyes, I can still hear her acceptance speech. The great Marley.
Oh, God.
I hated Cher winning, by the way. I hated Cher winning. I hated it.
Me too.
Because
it was bullshit.
Yes, I didn't like. First, her performance was sort of pedestrian in that. I mean, not Oscar. The whole movie was kind of more than I enjoyed. I mean, it was fine, but it shouldn't have gotten all the accolades. It was fine. Cher got a lot of credit because she put gray in her hair, and it was like, oh, she's so brave. Look at her. She's playing an older woman. It was like that was the beginning of the she's so brave. She should get a award. Yeah. And I was just like, I don't know. I didn't think it was a great acting role.
It wasn't. Listen, there's one line that comes out of that movie, and it's embarrassing. Snap out of it when she snaps Nicola's cage. Right. It's embarrassing that she's an Italian woman. Fatal Attraction destroyed that movie. Glenn Close was way better.
Cher was better in Mask than in
Mask. She was great in.
Moonstruck,
I'll give you that. Definitely.
I agree. All right, let's bring it home. Cher beat Glenn Close, Holly Hunter, Meryl Streep.
Whoa.
See, that was not. No one ever talks about Cher's performance in Moonstruck as a it's not studied in acting academies or anything.
Of course not.
But the smartest thing she did was put the gray in her hair.
Right.
And everyone went so brave. So brave.
Yeah. Wow.
And it's true. You only need that one little line. Snap out of it. She was yelled that it just gets into the zeitgeist, and people go, look at her. She's a tough woman with some gray in her hair. This is going to be awesome. All right, let's bring it home, baby.
You got it. I'm Gina Grad, and that's the news.
Gina Grad.
That was the news with Gina Grad.
Jeremy Piven coming in tomorrow. First, I'll tell you about LifeLock. Tax deadline is approaching. Avoid being a victim of tax scams. File early. Be aware of suspicious activity. Apply for an IRS identity protection PIN number, please. It's important to understand how cybercrime and identity theft are affecting our lives every day. We put our info at risk on the internet. In an instant, cyber criminals could take your money, credit, reputation. Good thing there's LifeLock. LifeLock detects a wide range of identity threats like your social security number for sale on the dark web. If they detect your information has been potentially compromised, they will send you an alert. So protect yourself with LifeLock, right, Dawson?
No one can prevent all identity theft or monitor all transactions at all businesses, but you can keep what's yours with LifeLock Identity Theft Protection. Join now and save up to 25% off your first year at LifeLock.com. Promo code Adam. That's LifeLock.com. Promo code Adam for 25% off.
We need a ball puller for Reno, so I'm told. And I don't know about the email part, Max Zapata.
So you want to email us at email us questions at adamcarolla.com. Let us know if you're interested. We'll get back to you.
All right. That's coming up this weekend, Virginia Street Brew House. March 19th and 20th. Be doing stand-up there. I think they added a second show for Saturday night. And Jam in the Van Speakeasy. That's March 25th out here. I'll be doing stand-up there. Adam Ray's going to be opening for me. We'll have some mangria and cannabis for the crowd. So, we're going to be funny. Dawson's opening up, too. Loxy, Chris's band is playing. Nashville, Zany's the 14th. Live pod there. You can go to adamcarolla.com for all the live shows. And until next time, this is Adam for Terry Dunn Meurer and AJ Benza and Gina Grad and Ball Bryan saying mahalo.